If you love the jaw-dropping, the cringe-worthy, and the "I can't believe that just happened" side of combat sports, you are in the right place. Today, we're diving into the 10 most ridiculous UFC moments you can't unsee. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. Number 10 is the birth of the madness. Number 10. The Tooth Fairy Visit. UFC 1, 1993. To understand how ridiculous the UFC can get, you have to go back to the very beginning, November 12, 1993. This wasn't the polished sport we see today. There were no weight classes, no gloves, no time limits, and basically no rules. It was marketed as a blood sport in a dark arena in Denver. The very first fight featured Gerard Gordeau, a lanky Dutch kickboxer, against Taylor Tooley, a 410-pound sumo wrestler. Tooley charged in like a human mountain, but the momentum was too much. He tripped. As Tooley was trying to stand back up, Gordeau unleashed a brutal roundhouse kick straight to Tooley's face. The sound was like a baseball bat hitting a pumpkin. In the replay, a small white object can be seen sailing through the air, flying past the commentators' heads and landing near the judges. It was a tooth, a literal human tooth. But the craziest part? Gordeau actually fought the rest of the night with fragments of Tooley's tooth lodged in his foot, which eventually caused a massive infection. This was the moment the world realized the UFC wasn't a movie, it was real, and it was brutal. Number 9. The Sleepwalking Slam. UFC 34. Number 9 is a finish that defies the laws of biology. Matt Hughes, the legendary champion, was facing the technical grappling wizard Carlos Newton. Newton caught Hughes in a deep triangle choke. He was squeezing the life out of Hughes. Hughes's face turned purple, then white. His eyes rolled back into his head. He was out cold. But here's where the ridiculous happens. Because Hughes was leaning against the fence, his body stayed upright even though he was unconscious. As he collapsed, his dead weight slammed Carlos Newton into the canvas with the force of a falling anvil. Newton's head bounced off the mat, knocking him unconscious as well. For a few seconds, both men lay there like rag dolls. Hughes woke up first, looked at the referee with a dazed expression, and realized he was still the champion. He had just won a world title fight while he was technically taking a nap. Number 8. The Front Kick from the Future. UFC 126. Anderson the Spider Silva was known for his Matrix-like movements, but at UFC 126, he did something that belonged in a video game. He was facing Vitor Belfort, a man with hands so fast they were practically a blur. For the first 2 minutes, Silva just stood there, staring at Belfort with an eerie, calm arrogance. Then, without any hip movement or warning, Silva snapped a front kick straight up the middle. His foot connected perfectly under Belfort's chin. Belfort crumpled like a folding chair. It was a move so movie-like that martial arts actor Steven Seagal actually claimed he was the one who taught it to Silva in a secret training camp. Whether you believe Seagal or not, this remains one of the most surgical, disrespectful, and iconic knockouts in the history of the octagon. Number 7. The 5-second sprint. UFC 239. Before UFC 239, Ben Askren was an undefeated Olympic wrestler who had never been touched. Jorge Masvidal was a Miami street fighter who had been through wars. The two hated each other. Askren spent months mocking Masvidal's intelligence and his fighting style. When the bell rang, Masvidal didn't even put up his hands. He just leaned against the cage. Askren did exactly what he always did. He dipped his head for a takedown. Masvidal sprinted across the cage like a 100-meter Olympian and launched himself into the air. His knee met Askren's temple with the speed of a bullet. Askren was out before he even hit the ground. His body went stiff as a board in a fencing response. Masvidal then landed 2 super necessary punches just to make sure. 5 seconds, the fastest knockout in UFC history and the birth of a global superstar. Number 6. The 13-second Empire. UFC 194. Jose Aldo was the pound-for-pound king. He hadn't lost a fight in 10 years. Conor McGregor was a trash-talking Irishman who promised to take his head off. For a full year, McGregor followed Aldo around the world, stealing his belt at press conferences and telling him exactly how he would beat him. On fight night, Aldo looked tight. McGregor looked like he was going for a walk in the park. 13 seconds into the first round, Aldo lunged forward with a left hook. McGregor slid back by a fraction of an inch and landed a single left-hand counter. Aldo hit the floor face first. It was over. The fastest title finish in history. McGregor didn't just win a belt, he took over the entire sport in under 15 seconds. Number 5. Let me bang, bro. Tough 16. You can't talk about ridiculous moments without looking at the reality show era. During The Ultimate Fighter Season 16, a fighter named Julian Lane had what can only be described as a psychological meltdown. Fueled by the pressure of the house and a little too much adult beverage, Lane started crying and challenging everyone to a fight. He was wearing nothing but his underwear, screaming at his teammates. When his friend tried to calm him down, Lane cried out the words that would become a legendary MMA meme. "Let me bang, bro! Let me bang!" It was the perfect mix of tragedy, comedy, and pure absurdity. Number 4. The head kick. Rousey versus Holm. Ronda Rousey was more than a fighter, she was a cultural phenomenon. She was finishing world-class athletes in 14 seconds and was considered invincible. But before her fight with Holly Holm, the Queen of Judo was acting erratically. She refused to touch gloves and looked filled with rage. Holly Holm, a world champion boxer, spent 2 rounds turning Rousey's face into a crimson mask. Then came the kick, a left high kick that landed flush on Rousey's neck. The invincible champion went down like a sack of bricks. The shock in the arena was deafening. It was the night the Rousey era ended, and a reminder that in the UFC, no one is safe. Number 3. The Brock Lesnar breakdance. UFC 121. Brock Lesnar was a 265-pound monster of a man, a former WWE champion who came to the UFC and actually won the belt. He looked like he was made of granite, but when he faced Cain Velasquez, he met a man who didn't care about his size. Velasquez hit Lesnar so hard that Brock's equilibrium completely vanished. For the next 30 seconds, Brock was literally spinning in circles, stumbling across the cage and falling over his own feet like he was doing a weird breakdance. It was one of the few times a giant looked completely helpless. Number 2. The Mighty Whiz Bar. Johnson versus Borg. Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson is a human cheat code. In his fight against Ray Borg, he did something that had never been done in a real fight. He picked Borg up for a suplex, but as Borg was flying through the air, Johnson let go of the waist and caught Borg's arm. By the time they hit the ground, the armbar was fully locked in. It was a suplex to armbar transition. It looked like a move from an anime or a video game. Fans are still scratching their heads wondering how a human brain can process physics that fast. Number 1. The post-fight riot. UFC 229. The biggest fight in history. Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Conor McGregor. The bad blood was toxic. McGregor had attacked Khabib's bus with a metal dolly. Khabib had promised to smesh Conor for insulting his family and religion. When the fight ended with Khabib forcing McGregor to tap out, the chaos didn't stop. Khabib stood up, looked at Conor's cornerman Dylan Dennis, and leaped over the 6-foot-high cage fence like a bird of prey. A full-scale riot broke out. Khabib was fighting the team outside, while his teammates jumped into the cage to attack McGregor. Police had to swarm the octagon. It was the most famous, ridiculous, and terrifying 5 minutes in the history of the UFC. History remembers the champions, but the fans remember the madness. Which of these moments still blows your mind? Did I miss your favorite fail? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the weird side of history. See you in the next one.